Ladies and gentlemen, from the depths of flyover country in the heartland of America, the Kansas City on the other side of the mighty Mo, welcome to Hitting the Bricks with Kathleen, the genealogy show that features your questions and her answers. I am John, your humble hubby host, and on this episode, we'll be talking to Bonnie Flatt from the Prairie State, the land of Lincoln, the great state of Illinois. So, let's start Hitting the Bricks. Oops, everybody just disappeared. Everybody's back. Well, okay. So welcome to Hitting the Bricks with Kathleen, Bonnie. Here we are, live and in person.
Hi, how are y'all?
Kind of.
Good.
No, well, live and
in Zoom, John.
Live and in Zoom.
I won't even ask what you're drinking over there.
Since the pandemic. Okay, so Bonnie Flatt, is it F-L-A-T-T?
That's correct. That's correct. Yes.
So Bonnie is from Illinois.
Okay.
And I'm still confused, Bonnie, where you're from, but it has something to do with Buckner, Benton, and the county of Franklin, or Franklin County, rather.
That is correct. I live in Buckner, or just south of Buckner, which is just 500 and something people. So Benton is where I work, and I did live at one time, and it's all in the county of Franklin.
And you are a bookkeeper, is that correct?
I am. Now I've been a bookkeeper at a law firm for 28 years, and they are closing. So now I'm working for the county treasurer.
So what exactly is your brick wall, Bonnie?
My great-grandfather, I know his name. I know nothing about, his family. I mean, I know from him down. I don't know anything above him. I know he was born in 1834 in Illinois, with parentheses, because one of the census records say Indiana, but most of them say Illinois. I know that he then moved to Missouri and married a girl from Illinois in Missouri. I can go through all his kids and down, but I can't go up.
So were you able to find the marriage record of this Bush? And the one you were referring to is Richard.
That's correct. I think I found the marriage record of him, not the record itself, but the indexed thing on Ancestry.
In Missouri?
Yes.
Right?
Okay, evidently. Then I have the 1900 census, so that might be what I got it off of.
Okay, that makes a little bit more sense to me because I did not see it in the Missouri marriage records at all.
Yeah.
Did you know your grandfather?
No. All my grandparents were dead before I was born.
And the grandfather was Edward Franklin Bush. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And it is his father, Richard Bush, that you are stuck on. There are lots of reasons why, Bonnie. So I do want to walk this through. And Bonnie has a second issue that's tied into that. What was the second question that you had?
I did a DNA on my dad, and I did it with family tree DNA. And with it, I have a zero distance relative of his named Mark Bush, and I can't get to the connection. He doesn't go up high enough. I don't go up high enough. So I know that's a zero distance. So I know there is a common ancestor for sure.
So Bonnie's father has taken the Y DNA test on family tree DNA. She's matching with a guy by the name of Mark, or I should say again, her father matched on the Y with Mark. And Mark does put a partial tree, at least some names up there. And one of Bonnie's concerns was that this person does have Indiana up there. Is that correct?
Yes.
So I want to walk you through a plan. Now, Bonnie, I want to make sure you're clear that I can't solve this in 60 minutes or 90 minutes.
She's lying, Bonnie. Actually, she's already solved all this.
Yeah, that's the deal. I know she's solved it.
She solved it, and she just laughs. She laughs at night and rubs her hands together and goes, "They'll never know. They'll never know. They're going to have to find it all themselves. They'll have to go and research on their own."
That is not true, Bonnie. You will get a copy of absolutely everything I found, which is not much, but a lot of places that told me what your issue was. And your biggest hint was the DNA match of Mark Bush. So just tell me a little bit more about your research on Richard.
He's married to Eliza Ann Watson. I have all of his children's names, and I know year of birth, maybe not date of birth. And then I can go down those children. And that's how I've got some of my cousins, fourth, fifth, whatever, down through the great aunts or grand aunts, I guess.
Well, how many children do you have that Richard and Eliza have?
Okay, 7.
Okay, that's good. She claims 7 children, 4 living. What is the oldest child that you have?
Liza Jane, Elizabeth Liza Jane. She was born in 1858.
And that's where we are going to divide our answers. Bonnie, the first 2 children that you have is Eliza and George. Is that correct?
That's correct.
If she really had Eliza and George, and that was in Shannon County, Missouri, and then she had another 7 children, according to the 1870 and the 1880, we're now up to 9 children. In the 1860 census, that Richard Bush had 2 children born in Missouri, and those 2 children do not show up in the 1870 census. Do you know why?
Well, I thought they were Eliza Jane's husband's children, accidentally named Bush on the ancestry.
Except when we do the matching of the names, what we find is she has a Susan, an Ellen, a Fanny,
yes,
Mary Martha, a Richard, an Eliza, and a George F. Those are 7 children right there.
Okay, George F., if you'll notice, George isn't mentioned at the top, and that is actually my grandfather that they've got as George F. instead of Edward F.
Do you know why that mix-up happened?
I just assumed, now when a census taker comes in, they talked about everything in the book. Then the census taker got mixed up is what I have always assumed, because those are the only 2 places, and that is my grandfather's birth year.
Yes, George
there.
F., number 7.
Right.
No, not number 2, which was born in 1860. It appears to me that in 1860, they could not have named a George that wasn't born until 15 years later.
Right.
There were 2 different families. Also, if you look in the 1870 census, they did not move from Illinois to Missouri until somewhere between 1866 and 1867 when Mary Martha was born, unless they were going back and forth.
That's what I thought, because the 1900 census is where they said they were married in Missouri, but then Susan was born in Illinois in 1865, and Martha was born in Missouri again. Greene County, Illinois is not that far from the Missouri border. It's a little above St. Louis and to the east, and Shannon is west and down 5 or 6 counties probably.
No, when you said to the right, I'm sure John just got tickled because that east-west thing drives him nuts out here in the Midwest.
Not anymore. I've been converted. That was difficult in the East Coast where I grew up. You say to the right, to the left. And out here, they give directions by north, south, east, and west.
So when you're looking at a map straight on, it's to the right or to the left.
Well, actually, when I was a kid, did land surveying, and my nickname on the crew was Wrong Way, because north was whatever direction I was facing at the time. And so I got us lost more than once, and that was before GPS.
And you were still hired.
Well, I was hired. There's a reason why I retired from teaching recently and not land surveying.
That would make sense. So I am going to suggest a few things, and we're going to start just with
this is 2 families?
This is, it appears as though there are 2 families, and there's another reason why I must say that. So as a professional genealogist, one of the first things we do is challenge all of our assumptions. How can I disprove what I'm thinking? With every document, ask yourself 3 questions. I make my interns do it. I make my researchers do it. It's like, so what is this? There are reasons to believe that there is another Richard with either Eliza or Elizabeth's name. One of the questions that came to mind was the double and triple use of names. Edward, Richard, Wiley, Franklin, and Wesley were used over and over. Wiley Richard became Richard Wiley. George became George Franklin and Frank. I saw that he also had a brother, Wiley Richard Bush. As I was researching your grandfather, I saw he also had a Wiley Richard Bush as a brother married to Nancy Turner. Mm-hmm. There is a third name that's connecting almost 4 of your family members, and that is Charlie Moore. Who is Charlie?
Charlie Moore is my dad's oldest sister's husband, Agnes and Charlie Moore.
So that's why he is on everybody's, not everybody's, but quite a few death certificates?
Probably, yeah. The Moore family comes in, I told you I'd done research on all of Franklin's siblings. Well, they're also married into the Moores down through there, and they related also to Charlie. So,
and it does seem like they moved out from different places together. They moved around quite a bit together.
Yes.
So Charlie is integral in some part because he was the first one to say, oh, no, she's a Watson in the records. Of course, at this point, we see the Watsons living with the Bushes in 2 different families. What I am finding is that you can easily follow your family in Arkansas, Clay and Randolph County. And then I notice that in Missouri, again, you have 3 or 4 counties, Reynolds, Shannon, and Butler. You also have in Iron County.
That's what I was thinking.
St. Francois. And he was in coal mining then. Yeah. Okay. Richard, who was her.
If we can take a short break, I've used all my whiteout up on my screen, changing the names as we are going. And so I kind of need to clean the screen off and start over again.
We're still talking about Richard John in 1830.
I'm never going to get this whiteout off of my screen. Just keep going.
So the biggest flaw we have here, Bonnie, because you have done great research in Arkansas and in Missouri, you are not going to find Richard's family until you figure out where he's from in Illinois. And you can't skip a step. However, DNA says he is pretty much from Indiana before Illinois, his ancestors.
His ancestors, yes. I was aware of that.
His ancestors were from Indiana.
So he was born in Illinois, but
exactly.
They came from Indiana. That was what I got.
And that's why I said your DNA was your biggest clue, because Mark put you right there. And Mark named a person named John Wesley Bush. John Wesley Bush is from Warren County, Indiana. Okay, what can I do with that information? Not much, except look for more documents. So at that point, I turned to the land records. Have you searched land records?
No, but I've got John Wesley's family tree up a ways.
So there is an 1860 land record with Richard Bush, and they are in Reynolds County, Missouri. And the key to land records is understanding why they have the land. And that particular piece of land that he was granted is because of something called Scrip Warrant Act 1855. That warrant was the Cherokee Removal Act. Richard was part of the militia, and in the warrants, it tells you he was in Illinois from Warren County, Indiana. Now, there is a lot of tying you need to do here because there are several Richards. So let's talk about naming conventions. Every son may have named his first child after the father. So if there were 6 sons, there are 6 Richards about the same age. So that is also why I question that first one of 1860 who had the land record. And I'm not saying that's not your Richard. I'm saying the children aren't adding up with that woman. We don't know the scenario. That has to be fleshed out. As you're looking for Richard in Illinois, I'm going to suggest you look in the Palestine, Illinois area also. It does not mean this is the correct one. It's a great place to start.
So she's going to be eliminating Richards.
That is correct, John.
Just a fun fact. Eliza has a brother named George Wiley.
Yes, because your family wants to kill us.
The Wileys and Watsons.
Exactly. And Wiley often can be a William. In my family, our Wiley is actually a Tobe. He went by Tobe and Tobias. His real name was Wiley in the family Bible. So the first step
he was running from the law, though, wasn't he?
He was not, John, but thank you.
That wasn't the criminal side.
No, that was not the criminal side. That was
Which
the master
side? Remind me
blacksmith.
again. Was it your mother or your father's side, which was the criminal side?
You are absolutely a horrid man.
Neither side that we know of.
You are a horrid man. That's all I have to say.
That did not start until her generation.
Oh, I see. Okay.
He is a horrible human being, Bonnie. I keep him around for no reason except entertainment. So, Bonnie, we want to make sure that you're not putting too much faith in Census Records. We don't know who answered the door and gave the census taker the information.
I'm aware of that. Yes.
Yes. So keep that in mind. The second step, as I said, would be the land records. So you want to pull as many as you can. That particular website is the Bureau of Land Management, BLMGLO, the General Land Office, because it doesn't just show you the certificate as it does on Ancestry. It gives you more information of how they got it. You also will want to order the original record, which is in National Archives, for at least the one Richard Bush that I saw who got land in Reynolds County in 1860. And the reason is because he has to give more information about his family firsthand. So it is a primary source. And again, I'll send you the link that I already have on that land record, but it doesn't mean that's the only one. I just stopped when I found that connection to Warren County, Indiana, which was the same as John Wesley, which was the DNA match.
Is that the county Williamsport is in?
That is correct.
Bonnie putting the dots together.
I know.
Well, yeah, I had him, John Wesley, as being born in Williamsport, Indiana, but I didn't have the county down there.
So is Bonnie going to get to go to the courthouse basements and go digging through the dust or plats or any fun stuff like that?
So John happens to know, Bonnie, that I love doing that. So for me, it's a holiday. And John is thinking that everyone loves walking down these creaky steps in dark and dusty places to stare at books. I think it's the best part about genealogy, but everyone doesn't love that, John. The third thing, of course, is the DNA. It sounds like you have done already quite a bit of work on John Wesley. So besides following your DNA, number 4, following John Wesley's family group, you want to see any siblings that he might have had or any siblings his father might have had. You also want to make sure, as I mentioned earlier, to pull those military records. Someone served in the Civil War. They might have been living in Missouri at the time. Remember, the Cherokee removal was before the Civil War. That was militia. Militia records are with the state, not with the federal government. It might be at the county level. After you've done all of that, that's when you're ready to figure out who was the father of Richard. But you have a long ways to go before you can get to Richard.
Okay.
Bonnie, don't cheat yourself. Don't cheat the dead people. I want you to make sure you work out Illinois first. Those marriage records might not be there, but the wills, the deeds, the probates will all give you hints. There is another name beside Charlie Moore that I have a big question on, and that is, who is Elizabeth Myers?
Me too. I have that same question. I thought she might be a relative. Okay, my thought was always that Richard, being 18 and his brother being 17, I assume, was living with her in the 1850 census and kind of working for her. And I thought she might be a relative of the family. And I thought both of his parents might have been dead at that time, but since I can't find them, don't know who they are. I don't know.
We don't know. What we know is someone got a land patent. We know they got that land patent for Reynolds. We know there's another repeat of these George Richard names, living with someone who's born in 1801, which is this Elizabeth Myers. We also know enough about Eliza. We can follow her because she's living in the family with the Watsons. I actually saw her in the census record with the Watsons. So those are just way too many questions to ask before you can get to the question of who are the parents of Richard. But yet I don't think you need to do that much more in Missouri. You have full families. That was one of my points, was did you unscramble all of these families? We know that one brother had a child by the name of Laura, and we need to make sure you're getting especially death records, because the death records are going to tell you who somebody thought the parents were. And Charlie Morris will probably show up again on a couple more because he signs a lot of death certificates.
I'm starting to develop a theory about Mr. Moore. And I mean, the fact that he was present at so many deaths, should we be... This sounds like you might have an issue in your family.
Well, actually, when Charlie and my Aunt Agnes got married, they lived on adjoining land with Frank Bush, which is my grandfather. And they were always right there real close to the family, you know.
I didn't mean to imply he was a murderer.
No.
Yes, sure, John. Sure. You didn't imply that at all.
At what point did he murder them? I'm sorry.
What I did find interesting was the lack of death information for Richard Bush of 1836. So, Bonnie, what we noticed, there is no death certificate. There's no obituary, nothing. Did you contact the local county papers and the local county libraries for any obituaries with a time frame of Edward Richard? He disappeared, 1880 to 1890, or Richard W. Yeah.
That's all
Which
I've got.
We also see as Wiley Richard. We see him both ways also.
No, I didn't see him. Okay, I'll have to hunt for that because I didn't see him as Wiley Richard. I seen his son
as Wiley Richard.
Both
that is
ways.
Correct. Yes, his son is both ways. I'm sorry.
The only way I ever see him is as Richard or Richard W.
For some reason, I have him also as a Richard, also known as a Wiley. So I must have found a record that he might have been a Wiley also.
I kind of wondered if he wasn't Richard William. Now, let me tell you my thought on that. My dad is named after his dad and his granddad. Okay. My dad is the second son. My uncle Kurt, William Curtis, was the first son. And so I thought they might have got William from the W in Richard W., but I don't know. I've never found where they might have got Kurt from.
That's interesting. So it's just kind of like that John Wesley. Where did Wesley come from? I don't know if they were very strict to the naming conventions. The older generations might have been, like the Richard Wiley of 1836. That one sticks because you have that Edward Richard. You have also a Wiley Richard, and then you have Richard W. Richard is a major theme. And if I was doing this research with Bush being such a populated name, I would probably first start with attacking all Richards in the right counties and states, because you have, like I said, hours still to just work on unscrambling out of all the Bushes here or there How do they fit in for sure? Not what we're assuming. What documents support what you're thinking? Okay. So that's where you're starting. But military records will really get you started, as well as the land analysis. If you're not sure about the land analysis or military records, there are things on the A3 genealogy blog site that can help you. That
Shameless plug brought to you by A3 Genealogy.
Yes, it is my company. And on the blog, I don't know if you've seen the blog of A3 Genealogy.
No.
A3 Genealogy brought to you by A3 Genealogy.
That is the letter A, the number 3, genealogy, no spaces.com. And that blog is designed to be totally educational to get you started. In addition, there are podcasts or trainings all over, for free, like on Family Search, where even professionals take these classes to find out more resources for our location and our topic. Illinois and Indiana has a very fun relationship. Their relationship even goes back to the Quakers' togetherness. So you have to be able to be really open of who are they, what was the prevalent church, and what were the communities. So you're working on cluster communities as you're going through Illinois.
So a little bit of cleanup and then straightening out some Richards, and Bonnie's well on her way.
Bonnie's well on her way. All I have given her is more work to do.
That's right.
But the best part.
It is one of her favorite things to do, Bonnie.
One of the best parts is Bonnie knows that her father is actually a Bush, at least an American Bush, and is historically a Bush. A lot of people come through A3 Genealogy or through the podcast, and they find out they're not who they thought they were ever. They have the wrong surname, or they have the wrong religion. So at least you know that your father's line really is Bush from Indiana, and there is a migratory paths that we could talk about later, but there's no reason to put you through that torture right now, because he probably didn't start. His ancestors came from somewhere else outside of Indiana.
Usually that's the case.
Absolutely. So, John, do you have anything to add? Or first of all, let me ask Bonnie. Bonnie, yes. Do you have any other questions for me?
The one thing that I found that I can't find where he was, I'm assuming that Richard was disabled in the military, because he is never with the family, but he is still living. And there was a pension involved. I've gotten some of that information, but I'm not really clear on a lot of that information.
So that is the records that you're going to get in order? Because I saw that pension. That pension is with the USCT, which is the United States Colored Troop.
I seen that one also.
And there's a Richard Bush and his entire family, which have some of the same names as the White family. But then you also have pension records that may or may not be yours. So they also gave land to those who not only served in the military, but also in the militia to do the Cherokee removal project. Those records are here in Kansas City, at least many of them are, because we have the National Archive branch here for Missouri. Bonnie, that's one of the major things I was wanting to mention, and I'm glad you brought that up. One of the things you must do is get those original documents. They're going to tell you a lot more.
Okay.
And either put aside a little budget or plan vacations around it. Where else would you go?
Okay.
Any other questions?
Not that I can think of. You've been a big help. Well, I'm just proud that what I have done so far is you ain't said, oh, this is wrong and this is wrong. And, so I'm really proud to be there.
Yeah, it sounds like you've done really good research. And you knew when to stop.
My parents were both the youngest in each of their families, and they both had quite a family. So they were the ones that on Sunday, after church, we would go to visit all the other relatives. I'm not saying nobody ever came to visit us, but usually it was my mom and dad who went to visit all the others, which is partially what got me interested in Family Tree to begin with. And I made groups on Facebook and have just invited all the relatives that I can find under each, like ours, Bush one is my grandmother and grandfather's families.
Got it.
Right.
Together.
Yes, on both sides. So then we share pictures, and I try to, just keep up.
Yeah,
with
virtual
everybody.
Reunions. That's really positive.
That's excellent, actually. And I enjoy that. And make sure you're writing little blurbs as you're finding things and engaging your family to help you research, because you have a big family.
Well, I think
Did you have another question for us, John?
No, I don't have any questions. All the questions will occur at 2 a.m. as then the regularly scheduled nightmare time where you wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and go, why didn't I ask this? That's
Bonnie, you can always send me an email.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bonnie, I'll text you her phone number. You can call her direct. It's okay. And okay. So
Bonnie, I will be sending you a folder. It shouldn't be any different than what you have, except I will be giving you some tips on where to go to find the land in the military
and that'll be in
records.
the show notes as well. Right.
Yes.
Then we will say thank you so much, Bonnie, for coming by. We really do appreciate you coming to Hitting the Bricks with Kathleen.
Thank you for helping.
Thanks, Bonnie, and have a great evening.
You too. Bye-bye.
Okay, good. Bonnie's out. Can you believe that guy murdered her entire family and just followed them from place to place, murdering them and then signing the death certificates? It's a horror story, and she takes it so well.
Can you please bring me the cup that you've been drinking out of it so I can sniff it?
Well, congratulations. You've made it to the end of another episode. Thanks so much for staying. Thanks to Bonnie for spending some time with us. Thanks to Chewy Chewbacca Brandt, our part-time SEO developer and full-time kitchen floor obstacle, for his unwavering lack of interest in anything we're doing. The theme song for Hitting the Bricks was written and performed by Tony Fistknuckle and the Mosquitoes. Watch for their next appearance at the Ocean at the End of the Lane. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, and of course Buzzsprout. We'd love to hear what you think about the podcast, so stop by our Facebook page at Hitting the Bricks and let us know.